Good evening. Good evening. I'm audible and visible? No. Yes. Yes. Okay. Very good. We'll wait to 2-3 minutes or 2-3 minutes and then we'll begin. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. 1 second. Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back. Last session from 5:30 to 8 p.m. In between, we'll stop around 6:30ish for a small break. But before that, we have to finish 2-3 things. I'm waiting for everybody to join in. Once everybody joins in, we will start our discussion again. The calling feature is also on. If you want to call and ask something, you can do that. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. We'll wait for 2-3 minutes. 2 minutes more, rather. Good evening. Good evening. Okay. So, since the morning, we have discussed Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and Indus Valley civilization along with Chalcolithic. Now we have already created a certain image about the Indus Valley civilization. We now just need to make it by what were the reasons why it declined. Now, when we talk about the decline of the Indus Valley civilization, the first theory was given by no one else but John Marshall. And today, this theory has mostly been debunked. A different word is used, but not this word which he used in that regard. The theory which John Marshall actually proposed is called the Aryan invasion theory. Now, this is a very colonialistic understanding wherein it is believed that some people called the Aryans invaded the IVC, the Indus Valley civilization, and they actually, in a way, destroyed it. He bases it on the concept of a site at which 25-26 bodies have been found, and all had arrows in them, basically, because Harappan civilization had not yielded any form of weaponry. It is believed that somebody else came and took it. Now, the point is that there's a difference between migration and invasion. What is the difference between migration and invasion? This is a slow but non-violent process, whilst this always has some form of violence in it and is related to wars. This has a negative connotation, basically. Now, very simply, I and the general academia argues that Aryan migration happened, but Aryan invasion did not happen. Now, tell me one thing, and we are not innocent. Why would a British officer argue that it was an invasion and not a migration? Because they have the mindset. Indian subcontinent supposed to be made. Very good, Hardeep. You have very good understanding of these things. Very good. See. Yes, Avani, very good. He tended to argue that it was an invasion because he wanted to justify colonialism. In the sense, our Indian civilization, Indus Valley civilization, was invaded. It is in your destiny to be invaded by someone better. So the British are no different. British are the Aryans. You are the Indus Valley civilization. So very simply, there was a certain type of politics behind arguing for Aryan invasion rather than Aryan migration. So I don't fully discredit John Marshall, but I think we all can see through the politics of why he said what he said. I think we can agree. And having known modern India, if you don't have an understanding of modern India, you soon will, that the British tended to justify their rule in India by any means possible. So I think I would not be wrong to say that the Aryan invasion theory has a certain type of politics behind it, which is to justify colonialism. Yes or no? Okay. Now come again the gray areas of history, which is there are 3 basic theories of decline of Harappan civilization, and all 3 are equally plausible. It is believed that the problem is that Indus Valley or the Indus River at this point of time, very simply, was in its youthful phase. And in a youthful phase, what does a river do? What are the features of a youthful river? In its youthful phase, what does the river do? Erosion, fast flowing, speed. I'm looking for a word. Starts with M. Fast flowing with huge volume of water. Not migration. There's a word, very specific term. For a river changing its course, what is it called? When a river changes its course too much? Yes, meandering. Meandering basically is the concept that if a river is like this in its youthful phase, it will start to meander based on erosion. Now, what we believe is that the Indus River started to meander, and what happened was that if there's a site where the Indus River was, and there's a site here, if the river shifts its course, what will happen to this site? what will happen to this side? Ecologically, what will happen to this side? There will be what? Very good, drought. And here it will be flooding. So basically, what we've seen is that in certain areas there was flooding because of change in ecology of the sector, and in certain areas there is desiccation. Desiccation means becomes extremely dry. So it is believed that climate change plus ecological changes together actually made some areas extremely dry, made some areas extremely wet, and that in turn led to the sites to decline. There's also one more story that it is believed that Mesopotamia started to also decline at the same point of time. At the same time when Mesopotamia started to decline, the Harappan civilization also started to decline. So the trade linkage is gone based on barter. Very simply, it is believed that external internal trade also declined. There was localization, and again UPSC can't ask you a question because all three are correct. It can be drought also, it can be flooding also, it can be trade also. Very simply, there are multiple reasons for the Indus Valley civilization to decline because of how it was going forward generally. Now, what I want to do is that if you go by the NCERT, we covered lower to middle Paleolithic, we covered Neolithic, we covered Mesolithic, we covered Chalcolithic, we covered Harappan civilization. Now we need to go into what is called Aryan invasion and Rigveda. But what I want to do is that I want to give you a summary before I start module 2 with you, and a summary of everything what we've done till this point. Can I do that? Can I just summarize everything in one slide? It's like we are bringing and expanding the timeline further. Okay, so let's do that process again as we always do. Trade point, Himanshu, is that as trade declined, internal trade declined, meaning that maybe the income, not income, but basically with the beauty of industrialization was its connections. Once the connections were gone, ruralization happened, localization happened. Okay. Neolithic. Okay. Now, early state formation. Revise with me. Early state formation, mature state, but nature not known. Thereafter, hunting, gathering, domestication of animals, plus agriculture, which is domestication of plants. Thereafter, do means same thing. You follow this concept that it's the same thing as the Neolithic period. Okay. Now, simple society, complex social stratification, complex society. Thereafter, no trade, internal and external trade. Further, no religion, rituals, naturalistic religion. No tax. Then, please keep this slide colorful. But what will happen is that if I do it colorful, then you will not be able to see what I'm writing. No currency throughout. Anything I'm leaving? Social is done, political is done, economy is done, ritual is done, religion is done. Any point I'm missing? If I want to add settlement, see, the minor points is going to be assumed. So I will just add one more point here. Tools, if see, as I said, minor points you will assume. I'll just add one more thing here, which is town plan. Burials again is presumed. See, these are meta concepts. The more I go forward, the bigger points I will write. Smaller points, if you remember, very good. But generally, domestication of animals is already here. Domestication of plants is here. Then you have complex society. You have internal, external trade, the most important feature. Is this clear, everybody? If I ask you to make something like this after a certain point, you will be able to do that? You'll be able to do that. Yes. So if on Saturday when we meet next time, if I ask each one of you to make it with me, you will be able to do it? Okay. So this is a promise. This is something which I look forward to. I want you to revise in such a way that you're able to do this. This is how you revise history. This is how you learn history. Now tell me, you've been with me for close to now, what, 7 hours rather. Is this factual? Or is this actually that boring? Or is it actually not the opposite of what you think? It is logical, it is linked to a general progression, it is rather linked to a bigger processes in that regard. So it's actually conceptual. And if you understand the concept, automatically you know the fact. So understand this. This is what is history. There will be facts. I'm not denying that. But if you understand the concept, you are knowing or you're getting to know about your own history. If somebody today asks you on the road that when did for the first time polity emerge or early state formation emerge, the answer to it is what? When did the first formation of polity emerge? It is the Neolithic period. Very good. So very simply, I will be telling you the story of the first polity, the concept of Vedic Brahmanism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, first religion, when did first social evils emerge, Varna system. We will discuss the concept of what we call as the social evil, social discriminatory practices, social exclusion in India. So basically, this history is your history. What you are today is because of this history. So if this is clear, I would like to close this topic and then move to Aryan migration and the Vedic period. Can I do that? This is module number 2. Module number 1 is done. Yes? Okay. Very good. Now, as always, as I said, I have everybody's consent. A lot of you did not say yes, no. I want everybody's consent here. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very good. Okay. Now, as always, I very simply said, for every module, I have the chapters specified. From R.S. Sharma, it is these 3 chapters. From NCERT 6th class, it is these 2 chapters. And from 12th class. Imagine that I am basically summarizing within this PPT 6 chapters out of these 3 books. And if you are going to the PPT, you're automatically doing that. Are these chapters enough? Sushmita, if you will realize, basically I'll make you read the whole book, except for the chapters which are not important. So the chapters indicated are basically as a guiding light to you. How polity emerged in Neolithic. Akshaya, were you with me in the part B? Polity emerged in the Neolithic period because of the issue related to redistribution. Once agriculture surplus is going to come through, there will be power hierarchy which will in turn need a central authority which can redistribute without bias. That is the concept of Neolithic and early state formation. Okay. Now, let's now go into a very contagious, very debated area of Indian history, which is called Aryan migration. Now, first and foremost thing, there are 2 versions to this story. Aryan invasion, Aryan migration. I think I've already told you why Aryan migration is more plausible than invasion. That was British reconfiguration of our history to justify their own existence in India. Hardeep, ARM is just to supplement your knowledge. It's not necessary. Now, additional reading material that is called. Now, pay attention to this. See, today if I ask you who is an Aryan or what is the concept of Aryan, most probably what you will tell me is who is an Aryan. I'll first ask you and I'll tell you where it comes from. Who is an Aryan? Aryan are a race. Aryan are people. Aryan, where do they come from? What is this concept? Avni says race. Sushmita has already done my classes. Okay. Race of people. Saurabh, very good. Central Asia. Avni says question mark. Central Asia. Race. Sudhir, very good. Vivek already knows. Very good. Further. Neil race. See, if for 1 second in your mind the concept of race came through, first let me distinguish between race and ethnicity. There are 2 words. Ethnicity. See, race is the physical difference between people. So if Xi Jinping is standing next to me, do I and Xi Jinping look the same? Xi Jinping being the premier or the dictator of China, do we look the same? No. So very simply, if not maybe, obviously not, we are different. He is Mongolite, I am the other race. So race is very simply physical differentiation. African, a French person, Indian and a Chinese will look different. Can we agree to this? This is called physical differentiation. Ethnicity is same race but different culture. For example, a French and an English, they look the same or they don't look the same? Do they look the same? A French and English, they do. But are they the same? No. So, for example, in India, from West Bengal to UP to MP to Haryana to Rajasthan to Gujarat to Jammu Kashmir, we all look the same. But we have different ethnicities, which is we are culturally different. Europe, Spanish, Portuguese, French, English, German, all look the same, but are culturally different. Cultural differentiation is ethnicity, same race can be there. Physical differentiation is race. Cultural and physical differentiation. Race and ethnicity is clear. If it's clear, then I go a step further. Is this concept clear? Okay. Now, when you say race, that Aryans are a race, you are basically falling into the trap of Adolf Hitler. Hitler, very simply in his Nazi understanding, in his German concept of Lebensraum, we will discuss that in world history. Adolf Hitler is the one who racialized Aryan concept. Because the concept of Aryans is basically not racial, but linguistic. If I have to be precise, Aryans are a speech group or linguistic group of people having different races, but one language called Indo-European language. And I'll give you a very simple example. I am speaking English, a Chinese will speak English, a British will speak English, a Brazilian will speak English. Aren't we different races speaking the same language? Yes or no? Yes. So, how can I prove to you that actually Aryans are a linguistic group? And that can be proved through this. Let's analyze 2 very important languages, which is Sanskrit and English. Sanskrit, Iranian, and you see certain patterns. The word Sanskrit, matar, mother, pitar, father, bhratar, brother, swasa, sister, duitar, daughter, nav, navy, sam, same, siri, serial, manu, mana, yajna, yajna, mitra, mitra, arya, arya, duitar, dugtar. I go a step further. Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, English, Armenian, Irish, Lithuanian, Albanian. Let's take simple. Matar, mater, mater, mother, mother, maser, matir, mutina. You go a step further, for example, bhratar, fratar, bratar, eter, poser, potir, polis. Why is that? There is a certain phonetical, language-based similarity in these words. And the reason is that all these languages actually come out of one language, which is called the Indo-European language, which was spoken by the Aryan people And once these people started to migrate in different areas, Central Asia, India, Iran, Anatolia, in Europe, they started to change a little bit. There is regional differentiation. So when it went into the Slavic sector, the Balkan sector, it gave rise to Polish, Lithuanian. When it went into the Celtic area, it gave rise to Irish. When it went into the Hellenic area, it gave rise to Greek. When it went into the Indo-Iranian sector, it gave rise to Sanskrit, which is the mother of all languages in India. Now, this shows that very simply, Aryan people were migrating slowly. They were a nomadic group. They were a nomadic pastoralist group. Pastoralist means that they were doing animal husbandry. They were a nomadic pastoralist group which slowly migrated into India, and with them they brought the Indo-European language. With time, with interaction with the local dialects, it gave rise to the most important language, which is Sanskrit. But what they brought with them also was a very important script, which is called Brahmi script. The script which we use today, the script which gave rise to all scripts in India, from Old Tamil to the South Indian scripts to all, is Brahmi script. Brahmi basically is the script which we are able to understand, and it is the reason this is Brahmi. This is Sanskrit written in Brahmi. Brahmi is the script which we all understand today, and Devanagari comes out of Brahmi itself. So why is that the Vedic period is called the Vedic period? Because for the first time we get evidences of language and texts, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Samveda, and the Atharva Veda. So the word Aryan is a linguistic term which in turn is spoken by the Indo-European language speakers called the Aryans. Origin is in Central Asia, and in turn all these languages show internal, what we call as similarities. I'll show you how it would have happened, but tell me, is this making sense or is this logically correct or not? So in a way, yes, in a way. Is it making sense? I'll show you the process of how it happens. It's not rocket science, it's actually logical. In India, however, there's a debate. People argue that is it inward migration of Aryans or it is outward migration of Aryans, that Sanskrit gave rise to Indo-European languages or Indo-European languages gave rise to Sanskrit. But there has been genetic analysis of all the Aryan-speaking languages, what we call from India to Iran and to the European sector. And today it is more or less plausibly discussed and is decided, again, no one to decide on that, no one to judge on that, that it was inward migration, that we all share a certain set of genes which cover Central Asia, and that would explain inward migration rather than outward migration. Now let me give you a simulation. I'm simulating to you, it's like you have an aircraft simulation, you have a car simulation. I'm simulating to you how it would have happened. Can I do that? How it actually would have happened and how Sanskrit would have emerged, in turn giving us the first textual reference in India, which is the Rig Veda itself. Can we discuss that? Can I give you a working simulation and then we can further understand this process? Again, don't need to do this, but I'm trying to make sense of what it actually means. And we'll take a very simple example and then we'll take a live example. See, I live in an area which is called XYZ. There are 6 set of people, A, B, C, D, E, and F. They look different. They all look different. They are racially diverse. But what is common to all of them is that they all speak a language called A. No, not can't take A, M. Now what happened was that these groups started to migrate. And they reached places called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And within this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, there were languages which already existed, or dialects, or very simple languages maybe, which were there. And for example, here it was Q, R, S, T, W, V. Now, when A, B, C, D, E, F will migrate to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what will happen to M? What will happen to M? Their language. It will start to merge and change. Very good. So what happens is that in this area, you get QM, you get RM, you get SM, you get TM, you get VM, you get WM. Basically, a new hybrid language. Now think of it in the model we have to understand. XYZ is nothing but Central Asia. M is nothing but Indo-European language. And for example, S, another 3 was Indian subcontinent. So what happens is that when this migration happens, the internal languages of India, we have no idea of what it is, will interact with the Indo-European language, and it will give rise to Sanskrit. Here it will give rise to German. Here it will give rise to English. Here it will give rise to Iranian. Here it will give rise to Lithuanian. Here it will give rise to Persian. Now, is this making sense? Are you able to understand how it is actually happening? It could be sort of en masse, it could be waves also, it could be anything. So now are you able to understand why do we call the Aryans a linguistic group, a speech group, a nomadic pastoralist group which entered into India with the language concept of Sanskrit, and they were able to actually write for the first time in a language which we understand today? Are we clear with regards to the concept of Aryan? Who are the Aryans and what they brought with them? Because they will bring with them 2 very important things: Sanskrit, Brahmi, and they also will bring with them iron technology. They knew how to smelt iron. And you will say, sir, when did this happen? Very simply, the period between 1500 to 1700, we still have some history. The period between 1700 to 1500, we do not have any evidence, or there's a gap in history. And we believe that it is in these 200 years, waves of Aryan linguistic group migration. So the pink basically represents the core area, and the yellow represents the areas in which they are going into. So can I safely argue or say that you understand what is the concept of Aryan? Yes? Yes, I need everybody's assertion. This is a technical concept. Again, there is multiple things written in multiple books. I'm giving you the safest concept. So origin is not Ukraine, it is Central Asia. There's no Ukraine right now. Come on, everybody. Okay, great. what the Aryans gave us are two set of texts. One is called the first book, which is called the Rig Veda. How do we know that the Rig Veda was written by the Aryans? Because in the Rig Veda itself, they refer to themselves as Arya. The Aryans, who are considered the authors of the Vedas, argued that we wrote the Rig Veda. And the second, third, and the fourth book, which is Sam, Yajur, and Athar, we will discuss the literary aspect in art and culture. Right now, Rig Vedic period or Rig Vedic or early Vedic period is reconstructed based on the reading of the Rig Veda. And these are reconstructed based on the Sam, Ved, Yajur, and Athar. Now tell me one thing. In our concept of prehistory, proto-history, and history, where does this fall under? Where does this fall under? Very good. History. Because now we have proper textual reference. Basically, this whole period is reconstructed on the basis of textual reference only. And very simply, the reading of these four texts allow us to write the history of this period. So the Aryan migration happened, in turn leading to the concept of Sanskrit and Brahmi, in turn leading to the Vedic age. Now understand one thing very clearly. I'm omitting a part right now, which I will do later, which is that this is only the story of North India. In South India, there's something called the megalithic. So that story I will discuss with you when I will go into the Mauryan sector or the post-Mauryan sector. Right now, I'm concentrating on North, but South Indian story is different. It has a totally different culture and a totally different trajectory as of right now, with only convergence later. So I will discuss that with you. Yes, right now we are concentrating on the northern sector. So if everybody understand why we call it the Vedic age, everybody understand the two basic bifurcations, one based on Vedic understanding and the other based on Ram, Yadu, and Athar, then I will go into the characteristics, because this is what comes in the examination. What is the social, political, economic milieu or conditions of the Vedic period? What is the social, economic, political conditions of the Yaju, the later Vedic period? And understand one thing, later Vedic period is the genesis of all social evils in India, and we'll discuss that. But are we clear with regards to Aryan? Aryan question will not come except for the fact that who are the Aryans, which you already know. I hope I've been able to explain to you how it would have happened, and you also understand it was most probably inward migration. Now, if we all agree to this, then I talk about the Vedic age, and we discuss how different aspects of polity, economy, and society were there in the later and the early Vedic period. Yes, come on. Yes, no, come on. Yes, sir. Okay. This is the only existing copy of the Rig Veda which is there. It was found in Kashmir 150 years ago, and it is written in Brahmi, Sanskrit. It is preserved in Pune Library. If you ever want to go and see, if you live in Pune, you could see it. This is the original text. We read it, and we were able to reconstruct this period. Now, what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to first explain to you the period, explain to you everything, then give you a table in which I will summarize everything as I've been doing. So what I want from you is a little bit of concentration. Once you have gone to early Vedic, I'll give you a break, and then we'll go into later Vedic. Acceptable? Okay. Now, let's talk about the early Vedic period. Okay. First is economy. Now, logically, you tell me, if Aryans were pastoralists, what would be the economy of the early Vedic period? Barter, agriculture. Very good, Avni. See, as of right now, they did not forget their antecedents, and they had what is called pastoralism with very limited agriculture. This means that cattle was very important. We see the word go to refer to cattle, and cattle was the unit of wealth. The more cattle you have, the bigger, the more you have wealth. No trade is happening, no currency is there, and no concept of money-based economy. So it is basically a cattle-based concept. The more cattle you have, the better you are. Now tell me one thing, using your left-hand rule, would the polity be extremely centralized, very controlling, or would it be a little bit more early state formation type because of the economic concept? Because there is no agriculture or limited agriculture, the state is a little bit more open and democratic. So if you can remember that it is pastoralism, now you see the cascading effect. Politically, we see what is called tribal polity. Tribal polity means chieftain. Chieftain. The word Rajan is used for the leader of the tribe. Rajan, he is the protector of people and cattle. Further, non-hereditary, based on experience. He is the first among equals. Very simply, he has been nominated as the king or as the tribal chief because he has experience. He's an elder. So there is no taxation, but there is warfare for cattle, or which is called cattle raiding. Cattle raiding. So very simply, tribal polity is there. Rajan is the leader, but he's the protector of the cattle and the people, not of territory. It is non-monarchical, non-hereditary, no taxation, and warfare is there, but cattle raiding is what is there. You attack the other tribe to get more cattle. There is one word which is called bhoga, or rather, we'll rather call it bali. Bali is a voluntary offering to the Rajan. Meaning that if you're happy with how he's working, you can give him some fruits, you can give him some wheat, and that is how he survives. Now, are you able to see the correlation that if pastoralism is there's no agriculture, how the society is a little bit more, or the polity is a little bit more, what we call as democratic? And I'll show you the institutions also. Are you following this correlation? That if the polity is pastoralist based on cattle, the polity is also exhibiting that basic feature. Again, logical, try to link it up. Make sense till this point? Because then I'll talk about the tribal councils, which you know about, or which you have heard about. Okay. Now, the administrative and political decision making was based on 3 councils. The Rajan used to preside over 2 councils, the Sabha, the Samiti, and there's also one more body which is called the Vidhata. Now please pay attention, comes in the examination quite a lot. The Sabha basically is the assembly of tribal elders and is open to women also. The Samiti is the assembly of all members of the tribe and open to women. Can you give me an equivalent concept in modern political structures looking at Sabha and Samiti? The third tier of our Indian polity. Can you give me the example? Very good. Panchayats. Very simply, you have the Panchayat Sabha and the Panchayat Samiti. The simple point is, by virtue of being the part of the Panchayat constituency or that area, you automatically become part of the Sabha. So this again, the Panchayati Raj institution concept has taken a lot of inspiration from this area. That if you're in the electoral role of that area, you automatically become part of that Samiti. So very simply, Sabha and Samiti are decision-making bodies. It is only open to tribal elders, meaning people with experience, and this is open to everyone. So women are part of both. Then what is Vidhata? When these two are political bodies, whilst Vidhata is a cultural body. When everyone needs to do or to perform cultural rituals, it is basically called Vidhata. Vidhata very simply is when the Samiti meets for cultural purposes. But the simple point is, these are early democratic institutions. Can I say that? Can I say that it is early democratic institutions? That very simply by virtue of being of the tribe, you are getting access to the decision-making body. These two take administrative decisions and decision-making. This takes cultural decisions. This is making sense. Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata, because they play with this quite a lot in the examination. They will mix it up. Sabha is this, Sabha is that, Samiti is this, Samiti is that. They will try to play it. Are we clear with regards to Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata? Nothing like that, Vivek. Are we clear with regards to that? Yes, no, I need an assertion. Then I move forward to social. Then I'll bring all of it together. Okay. This is the Brahmi script which I was talking about. This is the script which gave birth to all other scripts in India. Okay, now let's talk about social. Socially, the decision making takes place. No, decision making takes place Samiti and Sabha both. The society is divided, but not based on social hierarchy, but occupations. Very simply, it is not a inequality based society. It is just division of labor. Women are less than equal to men, have access to education, rituals, debates, and bodies. How do we know about it? We can confirm this because we find women saints who wrote in Rig Veda. So you have Apala, Gargi, Lopamudra. These are the names of what we call as women saints who were basically given access to the debates while the Rig Veda was written. And very simply, this gives us an understanding that these saints were having access to education, which will become extremely absent in the end. So if you look at the society, it is partially egalitarian. Egalitarian means economic equality, but socially division of labor. Is this making sense? Because then I bring political, economic, social, and I'm going to just add religion, everything together. Yes? Okay. Now let's talk about religion. Religion is also naturalistic, based on nature gods. For example, Agni, Vayu, Varun, Rudra, Indra, etc. And all of them personify one aspect of nature. Surya, Chandrama, Chandra. Are you getting my point? That very simply, the gods don't represent some abstract concept, but they represent the different aspects of nature. The fire, sun, moon, Rudra, Indra, which is basically the god of rain. So very simply, if you look at it, the religion is also not fully institutionalized. So there are rituals which are happening, but there's still a further process of institutionalization which is needed. So I have discussed with you economy, polity, society, and religion. Repeating myself when I will write it on the same slide. Just to say it again: economically, pastoralism. No trade, no currency, no concept of money. Gau cattle is important. Cattle is in the wealth. Politically, tribal polity, chieftain, Rajan is the leader, but he's also the protector of people and cattle. Non-hereditary, based on experience, no taxation. Voluntary offering is there. Warfare for cattle. Social, the institutions which are attached to the Rajan are Sabha Samiti, two decision-making bodies. Women are accessible, have access to it. Elders in one, the all members in the next one. Vidhata is a culture body. Thereafter, you have socially, a society is divided according to crafts, but not based on social hierarchy. Women are more or less equal to men. Basically, the concept of family comes through, marriage comes through, but still women have access to education, debates, rituals, and bodies. Religion is still naturalistic, but the gods have changed, and we have different gods personifying the aspect of nature. Anybody has any issue here, I will write it on one slide. This is gold for the examination. It comes as it is, as I'm telling you. Anybody has any issue here? Because then I consolidate. No, yes, have to say something. No, sir. Okay. So summary, if I give you very simply, pastoralist, early Vedic, 1500 to 1000 CE. Pastoralist, no taxation, no currency, cattle as wealth, tribal polity, non-hereditary, Sabha. Chieftain is an English word. Rajan is the term which is used. Sabha, Samiti. Concept of marriage comes through as a standard process of tribal. Within tribe, there is a concept of companionship. That is a concept of marriage itself. You will see it will become more institutionalized in the next period. Yeah, in a way, Hardeep, in a way, yes, why not? Neolithic it may have been there, but we have no evidence of it. We find evidence from this period. Sama, Samiti, Vidhata. Thereafter, you have Bali as voluntary tax, voluntary offering. You have no, there's no concept of compulsory, nothing like that. Naturalistic religion, crafts specialization, warfare for cattle, limited agriculture, knowledge of iron, but not used. Because Sudhir, they are still sticking to their ancestry. As they become more and more comfortable in India, they will go and further use that iron. So we will talk about that. Iron, but no, not of use. Gods personify the nature. So very simply, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Anybody has issues with these 14 points? And we can add one more, which is that we can add women less than equal to men. 15. Come on, you have to be more clear in what you're trying to say. 6 is Bali's voluntary offering, that you want to give something to the chief. He calls it Bali. So in a way, yes, that's a very, very important point. Because there is no trade, can I say that or rather you call early Vedic period a progression or a regression from the Indus Valley civilization? Progression or regression? Very good. A regression. Because we basically go back. No trade. This is why that's called first urbanization. This is a regression. We go back to certain things at the starting point of Neolithic itself. 11 point. 11 is what? Where is 11? Knowledge of iron but no use. Basically, warfare for cattle, which means that they're fighting for cattle raiding. They knew how to smelt iron, but their way of life did not need iron. So therefore, they did not use it. How can we say women were less than men? Because at the end of the day, there was a patriarchal society in which women had to go to the house of the man. This is all documented, but it is of no purpose to you. It is optional level. Women were not given it's not a matriarchal society, it's a patriarchal society. That we already know. If you want to add it, you can add it here. But it is at the end of the day patriarchal. Patriarchal. I will write it down. Let me first do the later Vedic period also. Patriarchal. Patrilineal means that they follow the lineage of the father. Patriarchal is the concept of men-dominated society. I've written gods personify nature. Bali is not a cattle offering. It could be any type of offering. Could be anything. Socially, it is more progressive than IVC. Hardeep, you can't say that basically because we have no real idea of how the IVC society was. So I don't call it that. 12th point is what? 12th is limited agriculture, which means that some form of agriculture was happening, but not the most important occupation in that sense. Are we clear with regards to this? First point. Pastoralism means the concept of cattle rearing. Cattle is the most important. If this is clear, what I'll do is that I will 14. Gods personify nature. Agni, Vayu, Varun, Chandrama, Surya. These are gods basically personify nature. Second point. No currency. There is still barter-based system. Third point, no taxation. Now you're basically asking me every point only. No taxation means that the king is not collecting any tax for ruling over them. Sabha Samiti are under Rajan. Third is basically a cultural body, so it is under everybody. Sabha Samiti. Now have I not made the Rajan in the center? How Aryans are invaded because IVC is more organized? No, because their area is very different. Don't fall into that trap. If that would have been the case, then IVC and Vedic period would have shown similarities. The similarity isn't there only. If there was an invasion, they would have absorbed the organization of IVC, which they didn't. There's no early Vedic music. Samved is basically the concept of music, but I don't know what you mean by early Vedic music. Samved is how you read the Rigveda. That is the book of what we call as music. Are we clear? Yes, no? Yes. Okay. Is there any worship of women goddesses? Yes, women goddesses are there. Aditi, multiple women goddesses. Women goddesses are also there. I'll write that down to that. Women and male goddesses are there. For example, Aditi. Okay. So we have discussed the early Vedic period and we've summarized the basic points. I'll give you a break here. Thereafter, when I come back, I revise this section through the PPT and consolidate it. And then I will move to the later Vedic period. And then I will do a comparative analysis of both. Acceptable to everyone? Come on. Okay, very good. So we come back at 6:50, or rather 6:51, and we'll take the story forward. Okay, welcome back. I'll wait for 1 minute for everybody to join in back. Okay, so we have to discuss Vedic period. So what Rajan was doing at the center, in the sense, he's the one who is basically taking decisions, but he's taking it with the advice of his Sabha and Samiti. Okay, so we have to now discuss this period through the PPT. I will just revise it with you. So early Vedic period is the first revision which we do, and then I'll do the comparison later. You have chieftain structure. Administration is tribal in nature. No full-fledged monarchical state. The tribe is ruled by the Pramukha or Jeshta, also given the title of Rajan. So basically, these three terms are used for the Rajan or for the king. He's a tribal chief, also known as Janasya Gopa. Basically, the word Gopa means that he is the lord of cattle, indicates that his main role is to increase cattle, because cattle is the main marker of what we call as wealth. Therefore, he has to increase the number of cattle. Janasya means peoples. So he waged war to protect the cattle, and we have noted that gifts were given, bali were given by the members of the society, and no system of taxation was there. So standard things. Thereafter, there is also a whole set of different what are called intermediaries which are operating around the Rajan. So you have the Purohita. Obviously, Purohit means a priest. Senapati, who is helping him in the wars in cattle. Then you have the Vajrapati. This is a very important term because, very simply, because they have a lot of cattle, the person who takes care of pastures. Pastures means cattle have to rear. So rearing has to be done on pasture land. So he finds the land itself. Thereafter, you have the Purapati, small forts which they used to build for very temporary period in that regard. Then Dutar, who sends the messages between the different tribes itself. You have a spy also who spies on other cattle tribes so as to get to know how much cattle they have. And you have the Ugra, who is nothing but the police, law and order, basic law and order in the tribe. In the same way, the whole tribe was also divided into smaller units which could be controlled better by the Rajan. So, for example, you have the Rajan at the top. He is the king. Thereafter, he controls the tribe. Then you have a smaller unit which is called Vis, managed by a Visapati. Under that, a gram, which is a small temporary village. And the smallest unit is nothing but Kul, as we know, which is a family or a basic unit of family structures. So, very simply, a Rajan would have multiple Vis under him. And the Vises would be then further divided into Grama. And the Grama would be further divided into Kula. So, very simply, the Rajan does not directly control the Kul. Rather, he controls the Visapati. Here, the Gramini takes care. And the head of the household, Kulapati. So you see, it's a very interesting system of how the power is in a way dissipated also. It's very democratic. So if I bring all of these concepts together, the Rajan very simply, at one level, has a Sabha and Samiti to help him in decision making. Under him, he has Visapatis. Then Visapatis would have Gramini under them, and Gramini would then control Kulapati. The simple point is that this is the structure. They take the decisions, the decision making body, and these are the units of control. So you see, though they are pastoralists, it's not that they are extremely primitive. It's a very sophisticated way of controlling the last but the family, the Kulapati. Now, we've already discussed the three basic bodies. Sabha, small elite of tribal elders. Samiti appears to be a larger body presided over by the Rajan, all tribal members. Vidhata is a congregation for rituals and religious ceremonies and for the well-being of the settlement. These two are administrative bodies. This is a cultural body. Anybody has any issue till this point? Any issue till this point? No? Okay. Then when we talk about economy, again, don't have to learn it. We get references to horses, goats, sheep, which means that there are multiple types of animals which they were rearing. Wherever you have a infix, which is either suffix or prefix of go, it means that they are doing it for cattle go in that regard. There is rudimentary agriculture because we do find terms and words related to agriculture. So we know that, for example, Fala, Langala, the axe, different types of plows are referred to, but it is quite limited. Kshetra would mean a small cultivated field, but this is extremely limited agriculture. We don't know that if it was properly agriculture, but limited agriculture knowledge they had. Thereafter, we have different types of occupations which are there. Warrior, priest, cattle rearer, farmer, hunter, barber. You have multiple types of craft making also. Chariot making, cart making, carpentry, tanning. You have making of bows, arrows, weaving, everything. Barter is the main concept of exchange, no currency. Though we have a word which does appear even in the early and later Vedic period, which is Nishka, but Nishka basically refers to jewelry, which is small globules, or what you can say is small nuggets of gold. Rigveda, one thing was there for sure, which is the concept of Dasa, Dasi. This is not something which I've discussed with you. Dasa, Dasi means that there was some form of slavery for sure. But this slavery was economic, based on debt. So basically, the best example of this Dasa, Dasi tradition would be, you go to a restaurant, you eat a lot, and then you forgot your purse. So what will the restaurant do to you after you have not paid their bill? What will they make you do? They will make you, yes, very good. They will make you wash the utensils. So very simply, that washing of utensils is Dasa, Dasi tradition. You are indebted to the restaurant, so they're making you wash the utensils. But is it permanent? Is it permanent? No. Same way, Dasa Dasi, if you have paid off your debt, you can become a free person. So, if I add society to it, early Vedic texts refer to different types of words for household. Patriarchal society, patrilineal also, which is that they follow the fact that I take my father's surname is patrilineality, and patriarchal means men dominated. However, there is relative freedom to women. Gargi, Vishwara, Apala, you have Swarnavara and Lopamudra are the saints which are referred to. And very simply, egalitarian in the sense of economic. So, as we can go back to the slide in which I gave you the basic summary, the simple point is, if I had to add one more thing to this, this would have been Dasa Dasi tradition. Pastoralist, no currency, no taxation, cattle and wealth, Sabha Samiti Vidhata. Further, tribal polity, non-hereditary, Bali as offering, naturalistic, craft specialization, warfare for cattle, limited agriculture, knowledge of iron, no trade, women more or less equal to men, gods personify the nature. And if you want, we can add the 17th, which is Dasa Dasi tradition. Done. Does anybody have any issue with early Vedic? Because these are the things which are asked in the examination. Sushmita, previous year questions, the questions are intersecting. So I can't do it by just doing 2 modules. Once we are in Saturday, at least 4 to 5 modules through, then we'll do previous year questions. Don't have to worry. I hope that you understand what is the purpose of previous year. Previous year questions are guiding light. By solving them, you don't prove anything. So I will make you solve those questions. I've already seen the questions. That is why I'm teaching you in that way. So don't worry about that. Okay. I have seen in PPT regarding marriage, monogamy, polygamy. So at this point of time, it is very, very open. It could be both. It could be polygamous, polyandry, anything. It's not monogamy. Monogamy will come only later Vedic period. Dasa Dasi have no similarity to slavery. Hardeep is a type of slavery. The thing which is coming in your mind as slavery is basically black slavery. That is a very specific thing to America. We will discuss that in world history with regards to America and the slavery. That's a separate short. Slavery has existed in multiple forms throughout history, and therefore they exist in that sense only. So you have one form of slavery in the Greco-Roman sense also. We have Dasa Dasi traditions in Vedic period itself. So yes. Okay, 10. You want me to tell you 10? Craft specialization means people are doing different types of crafts in that sense. Okay. Can we talk about later Vedic now? Can we talk about later Vedic? If you still have a doubt, you ask me. I don't want you to have any form of doubt with regards to the smaller points. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Now, let's talk about later Vedic period. Now, you understand this concept. Let's talk about economy. Economy is agricultural. Now, tell me one thing. Would agriculture complicate things or simplify things? If you know the thumb rule, which I told you, it will complicate. So with agriculture, land becomes an important resource and marker of wealth. No currency, no trade, but land transfer and holding is important for kula or family. Now you see how agriculture is poison. You see, politically, what will happen is monarchical state will emerge. Hereditary taxation will emerge. Territorial state, which means that the king is the protector of land and territory. Taxation will emerge. Bhaga, Bali, 1/10 to 1/6 of agri produce. Compulsory offering to king. So very simply, the state has now become a matured form of monarchy. Hereditary taxation, now compulsory form of tax is called bhaga. King is not the protector of the people or the cattle, he is the protector of territory. Territorial state means you have centralized, ruthless power with king. And this is where you see the early state formation in India, which you would have heard of called Janapadas. Janapada is a word used for early state formation in India. After the industrial civilization, this is the first time where territorial states start to emerge. And they are called Janapadas. Monarchical states will emerge generally. And over and above that, the simple point of the matter is hereditary, taxation, bhaga, compulsory offering. King is the protector of land and territory. Voluntary became compulsory. Yes, voluntary became compulsory. If you wanted to give, if you wanted to not give to, it's a pretty short way. Now you have to give to the king. And what happens further is Sabha is nominated by the king. Bhaga and Bali are different. Bhaga is the land tax. This is a compulsory offering. This is like tax over and above land tax. Above land tax. Now, Sabha is nominated by the king. Samiti is disbanded. Vidhata, leader of Sabha not elected but nominated. Basically nominated by the king. Whoever he wants to fill, Vidhata is disbanded. Now, very simply, democratic nature is diluted. Autocratic features and tendencies. And what the king also starts at this point of time is called ritualized kingship, in the way that the priest and king go into a nexus, and the nexus is that they will have rituals. One is called Ashwamedha, the other one is called Rajasuya, and the Vajpaya. These are the 3 rituals which are happening. Suya. Ashwamedha is called horse sacrifice ritual. Vajpayee is called chariot racing ritual. Rajasuya is coronation ceremony. What do you mean by that? See, in Vajpayee, Ashwamedha, what is going to happen is that a horse will be sacrificed. At the same time, a horse will be sent into the forest. Till the point it can go into the forest, that will be considered a territory. Basically, if nobody is stopping that horse, it is the territory of the king. Coronation ceremony is when you come to power. There's a proper elaborate ceremony which is happening. Vajpayee is that there will be chariot racing. Whoever wins gets a lunch with the king. That's it. So this is basically like a sport. This is coronation, Abhisheka ceremony, and Ashwamedh is the ritualistic big ceremony which happens. So you see that kingship has now become extremely undemocratic, and the priest and the king have now become very close to each other. They justify their existence in that sense. So anybody has any issue till this point. Economy becomes agriculture, and that changes everything. Territory becomes important, land becomes important. So same point of time, polity, monarchical state, hereditary, taxation, territorial state, protector of territory. The three democratic institutions, two are disbanded. One is now nominated by the king. Autocratic features, ritualized kingship. Anybody has any issue till this point? Come on. Janpad means the word Janpad means people's foot. That is the name which is given for early state formation in India. Religion I'm coming to. No Vivek. Economy slide. Economy slide. Okay. Now, can I move to society religion where the real change actually happens? Can I do that? Okay. Now let's talk about society and religion. See, four-fold Varna structure emerges, which is based on the new and first religion of the Indian subcontinent, which is called Vedic Brahmanism. See, understand one thing. I can call it Hinduism, but I don't call it Hinduism because Hinduism is the diluted version of Vedic Brahmanism. This is based on the Vedas. But the one which we follow today, Vedic Brahmanism diluted to become Purana based. And what we follow today is called Bhagavad Purana or Bhagavatism, or Bhagavatism it is called. It is based on the Bhagavad Purana. So very simply, it is the new form, or rather I'll remove this word. I'll write first institutionalized religion. First institutionalized religion to emerge in the Indian subcontinent. Vedic Brahmanism is based on rituals, is based on sacrifices, but it's a little bit different than Hinduism. But it is the early form of Hinduism. If you want to call it early Hinduism. But I will call it Vedic Brahmanism. Can you agree to it? Because I want to discuss this four-fold Varna structure. Religion becomes from naturalistic to the Vedic Brahmanistic fold. Right? So when I say Vedic Brahmanism, I mean early Hinduism. Now, this Vedic Brahmanism thereafter produces four-fold social, exclusionary, and discriminatory system of Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And these two are in a close nexus of reciprocal relationship. This is the commercial class. And the most important aspect here is that it is rigid. Social hierarchy is fixed. And therefore, Shudras are socially excluded and socially discriminated. So I wrote a social exclusion and discriminatory system of social division. Nexus means that they are having a reciprocal relationship between themselves, which is that they are together, close relationship, intimate relationship. So I told you that agriculture is poison. So basically in India, all forms of socially exclusionary practices, discriminatory practices emerged at this point of time. Later Vedic period is the period in which the Varna system emerged and became a rigid birth-based concept in which you are born into a Varna and your Varna cannot change. There can be no marriages between which is called exogamy. Only endogamous marriages. Brahmin will marry Brahmin, Kshatriya will marry Kshatriya, Vaishya will marry Vaishya. This is the warrior class. They control the knowledge system and rituals, and Shudras are excluded to basically maintain society. And therefore, this is where the first problematic aspect of Indian. So I'm telling you the genesis of all problems in the Indian subcontinent, and this is the first one. Can I discuss the issue with women, which is even more dangerous? Can I discuss? Is this clear? Is this making sense? Vedic Brahmanism is going to emerge, and thereafter it will basically give rise to the first discriminatory practice, the oldest discriminatory practice in India, which is the four-fold Varna structure. Now, what is more dangerous is what happens to women. Women become fully dominated by men. Access to education and economic resources is taken away. Cannot own or transfer land, reduced to the reproductory capacity, and socially excluded. Now, can anybody tell me why? Why are women removed from the economic sphere? Shushmita, you are there, but it's not about dominance. It's a very interesting thing, unfortunate interesting thing. See, very simply, land is a resource, yes or no? Land is a resource, yes? Land is a very important resource. So if there is a land, there's a father. He has two daughters and he has two sons. He has divided this equally into A, B, C, and D. Now land is an important resource. So if these two daughters will marry, they will go to another family. And if they own the A and D sector, what will happen to the A and D? It will remain with this father or go to the other family. Because women have to leave the family under the concept of Vedic marriages, this would lead to fragmentation. So very simply, women were excluded from economic resources so as to consolidate land and keep it within the society, rather keep it within the kula or family. And that is why you would have realized one thing: wherever there will be an agricultural economy, women have more rights or less rights? Tell me. If there's a tribal society and there's an agricultural society, women will have less rights in the agricultural society. Because if women will learn, if the women will study, they will ask for rights. If they will ask for rights, they will ask for land, and therefore it will lead to fragmentation. Fragmentation is avoided. So basically, I have within the last 20 minutes told you the rise of two major social evils for Indian subcontinent, which is the dominance of women. Rather, women get dominated by men, their exclusion from resources, their exclusion from society, and also the 441 structure. Now, am I right in saying that agriculture is poison? That it basically, very simply, in the society, started to push in as a catalyst, started to mix in poison of social exclusion, of social discrimination, of women's exclusion, of women's discrimination. So the genesis of all forms of discrimination in India can be traced back to the later Vedic period. This is where the Varna system comes through. This is where women get excluded. So the later Vedic period was a very, very dangerous period, and agriculture, along with the monarchical structures, along with ritualized kinship, along with the nexus between priest and king, allowed for social discriminatory practices to come into existence, and women's education, their economic position, was actually reduced to the minimum in the society. Did the Janapads actually exhibit this basic feature? It's not that agriculture is malign. Agriculture produces surplus, surplus produces social differentiation produces polity. Agriculture is inherently like that. Once power is through, it is going to work like that. Does this make sense? Am I making sense? Are you able to now get clarity about our society? Is this an eye-opening moment in which you understand? Now I'm making you peer through the problems which have come through in this period. Sir, all these events must have happened in a step-by-step manner. So is no one opposed this discrimination? Because few decades back, see, Hardeep, this is your 2023 constitutional Indian speaking. When these practices happen, if the priest and the king are in nexus, you can do anything. Women will oppose. What will happen? What will happen? The simple point of the matter is, we have a certain democratic sense of rebellion, the concept of how we challenge things. Think of it in a embedded, indoctrinated patriarchy is indoctrinating also. So women may have not resisted also. The simple point is it was done in such a systematic manner from the top down that there is no way. There is no way they could have responded. It's a way in which our society absorbs this evil, which is more dangerous than the way we actually produced it. Are you getting my point? Why I am telling you the later Vedic period is very significant in Indian history. Because if it is, then I'll give you a very important box in which I'll give you both the features in a comparative sense, and then we will discuss all the periods together and consolidate everything with regards to today. Come on, we'll look at the PPT also. Is this clear? So if I had to write summary of later Vedic period, okay, agriculture, monarchical state, no trade, taxation, bhaga, sabha, samiti, vidhata, diluted, ritualized kingship, fourfold Varna structure, social discrimination of women and Shudras, Vedic Brahmanism, and women fully subordinated to men. Anything else needs to be added here? Sudhir, still Vaishyas would be about barter system, right? Vaishyas are not fully linked to trade in the sense that trade, basic exchange will still happen, right? Disbanded. These two are disbanded. This is diluted. This is disbanded. Okay. Now let's look at the PPT. Then we'll write the comparative summary. Now let's talk about the later Vedic period. Emergence of Himanshu. The first term is a much larger term, includes everyone. Emergence of monarchical structures. Later Vedic texts talk about from tribal polity to lineage-based territorial state. Lineage-based means it is hereditary. I can add this point here also. 11, hereditary kingship. Right. Now, Rajan is now not the leader of who protects the cattle. He's the leader in battle, protector of the people, Brahmana, and settlements. He's the custodian of social order. Hierarchical hereditary kingship emerges at this point of time. There is also ritualized kingship, Ashwamedh, Vajpayee, and Rajasuya sacrifice. Vidhata completely disappears. Sabha and Samiti continue to hold ground for a certain period. However, the character changes, and Samiti is later disbanded. Now the members of the Sabha are nominated or chosen by the king. The tax collector emerges at this point of time, and he's called the Sanagrihi. Bhaga is 1/10 to 1/6 of the tax which the people have to give to the king. Further, now a new set of officers emerge, which help the king. Now here I want to teach you something, which is the concept of mnemonics. Mnemonics means how you can learn certain terms. For example, see, Bhagadugha, collector of taxes. Now how do you learn this? Please pay attention. Bhagadugha, Bhaga means tax. So do I need to learn that if this term comes through, it is related to taxation? Do I need to learn that? So for me, the key term is Bhaga. Same way. For example, Purapati. Pur means, or Purandar means basically fort. So in charge of forts. Then if there are terms which actually are difficult to learn, you create what is called Mnemonics, for example, very simply, Palagala messenger. So what you make is palmes or mespal. This is called a mnemonic. You can make a better one, you can make more elaborate ones, but basically two words coming together. Don't make PM because you will never be able to understand what that P is, what that M is. So very simply, for example, Purfo or Purfor, which is Purandar Fort. Same way, Suta is a chronicle who writes the stories of that period. Sut Crow. You can make better. I'm just showing you. Simple point is Krosut is a better one. Very simply, this will help you learn them. And what you do is that in that 15 minutes rule, you learn the acronym in the morning and go and revise in the evening that you do you remember the name of the two acronym parts. Not all of them are important, but I'm marking the ones which you should know as of right now. You need to know Bhagadura, you need to know Suta, you need to know the Purapati, then Sthapati, which is governor, and the games, Kaupen, no, not Kaupen, Mashihi, which is chief queen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pam, whatever. See, don't make it too small that you don't know what that M is. Try to understand this. If you will make it PM or Pam, Mapa, the problem is that you don't know that Ma and Pa what it means. At least take 3 to 4 words. That will help you. Right? You can make as many as possible. It is totally on you. Your creativity matters. Now, economically, what we see also is that agriculture emerges, but I can add to it a very important point, which I took for granted, but I can add to it, which is use of iron. Use of iron. Iron will be used. Habib, that is the double-edged sword, because it also gives you knowledge, but also perpetuates a certain type of society in that regard. So we can, use of iron. We again have multiple terms for different types of grains which they were eating. Land was occupied by extended family. Clan seems to be important. Household is basic unit of labor. Basically, labor is nothing but household members. Concentration of wealth in one hand. Vedic texts talk about artisans also, so there are still artisans, which are basically the Vaishya community. Wagons were drawn by oxen, were basically used to transport basic things in and out. Chariots we already know about, boats also we know. Exchange still via barter, no concept of coinage. Now there were different types of lands which emerged. Kshetra is the most fertile land. Thereafter you have the Kapatashara, which is pasture. Kila is still till today used as a word for wasteland, and Apaharta is nothing but forest land. You can learn this. Can you explain clan? Clan, Sudhir. See, Kul is actually clan. When you are related by kinship ties, it basically is clan. Clan, like a certain father, mother, brother, you have an extended family. In India, you used to have 50, 60 members in the same family. That is one clan in a way, if you want to say that. But clan meaning changes over a period of time. Does it make sense? The whole family is a kul. That way, yes, it can be called a clan. Kinship ties is the word which is very important here. Kinship ties. Okay. When we talk about society, crystallization of Varna system, social discrimination, subordination of women, marriage was very important for the concept of patrilineality. Relationship between husband and wife now becomes a hierarchical relationship. The way it is for father and son. Women were increasingly identified with the relationship with men, and there is more association with wifehood and motherhood. The Grihapati had control over the women also and the resources generally. So before we do this 6th century BC, I want to very simply consolidate everything to this point. Can I give you a comparative analysis? This is what you will learn for the examination, and it will help you answer all forms of question. Yes? Okay. Everybody's following me till this point. I hope that you're finding this interesting. Everything which I taught you today is giving you an insight into Indian society today. Therefore, it will also help you in social issues and writing better essays. Right. Okay. Now, okay. Okay. Now, no trade. Vidhata. Vedic Brahmanism. Thereafter, here you have any other point? Women's point is left. Done. See, cattle-based economy is already, if you want to see, cattle equals to wealth, land equals to wealth. Bali is there, but I don't call it a tax. It's a voluntary offering. Dasa Dasi in both. rituals, and I've written naturalistic religion, Brahmanic, Vedic Brahmanism. That is again self-explanatory. Now you should be in a position to imply that and understand that. Are we clear with regards to? Are you see? This is how we go about it. There are certain areas which are extremely descriptive. There are certain areas which are extremely factual. In factual, I can't help you. I can tell you how to go about it. That I'm doing. At least by this time, by 7:40, 2:40, are you getting what we are doing? Are you understanding that history is just more than random facts? There's a certain progression. It's a progression of society. It's a progression of economy. I went forward and backward in a certain way. Now what I'll do is I'll give you the master timeline for today's class. That is a separate issue altogether. But are you now able to, when you came in the morning at 10 a.m., you had certain apprehensions. Now by this end of this day, are you in a better position to understand what I'm trying to do here? Or are you in a better position to actually understand history in a better way? Because a lot of you said ancient, I can't understand. It's boring, this and that. But is this actually not understandable? It is actually logical. And this is where my role comes in. I am the mediator here. Trust the process. And by the time we cover ancient, which is next week, you will be a better understanding of the whole period. More than that, you will in yourself also understand why is India what it is today. Why is that there is problems in India? What are the social issues which we still face? Basically, today in this class itself, I told you the genesis of early political structures in India, and also I told you the genesis of the concept of social discrimination and social exclusionary practices generally, and women's domination. Can we say that India today does not have women's related issues, or women have equal right as men, or equally have given the same position? No. That is why this discussion is relevant, because still these things persist. Shushmita, what you do is that you go through the PPT first, then you go to the RS, then to the NCERT, consolidate, and if you get time, then RS. Okay. Now, before I go into the summary for this class, something just because there is nothing to really teach there. See, in the later Vedic period, Janapadas emerged, 22 of them, but there was warfare between them, and by the 6th century BCE, which would be the period between 500 to 400 BCE, there emerges, we'll keep it even more open, we'll take it 600 to 400, there emerge 16 Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas means that basically there was a process of consolidation. There's a process of consolidation, which is the concept of creation of 16 Mahajanapadas. One more thing which started in the later Vedic period was that during the 6th century BC, there is emergence and consolidation of 16 Mahajanapadas. This period is also called second urbanization, because trade will again emerge. But the most important concept, if there is agriculture and if there is iron, what will automatically happen in India? Come on, you know the answer to it is related to the industrial civilization. As soon as there will be agriculture and there is availability of iron, what will happen to the geography of civilizations in India? Deforestation. But what is the concept is eastward expansion. That agriculture will, through iron implements, clear the forest, and the Doab region. Doab basically means ab means water. Do matlab do, between two waters, basically between Ganga and Yamuna. This is the alluvial plains of India which had eluded the industrial civilization. With eastward expansion, surplus production, more and more state formation, the rise of Mahajanapadas was basically a process of consolidation of whatever started in the later Vedic period. Now, I will not introduce this concept to you today, but very simply, I'll show you the geography. What I mean to say is that you see that there is an eastward expansion of the Indian subcontinental political concept, because they're able to now control this area, which had eluded them previously. This is the concept where I pick up on next Saturday. I will discuss. There's nothing to teach actually. I have to just tell you the northernmost, southernmost, and then give you this basic summary of what is the nature. But I'm just telling you that what we start next week is called 6th century BC. We will discuss Mahajanapadas, we'll discuss Magad, and then we'll go into Buddhism, Jainism, and then come back to political, which is Mauryas. But the point is that the later Vedic period, in a way, introduced a certain dynamism in the Indian subcontinent, which led to eastward expansion, and that in turn led to second urbanization and emergence of 16 Mahajanapadas. Right? So don't say that everything starts from Ukraine. Don't say that. That is a very simplistic understanding. Now, can I give you the master summary for today, and we can end for today? Okay. Now, this is what we have done today, and thereafter we will stop for today generally. Okay. "22 Mahajanapadas to 16, internal consolidation fighting." This is the 7th time I'm revising with you. I've been noting that, and I hope that before you leave this session, you are already have at least learned something from this session generally. So, Paleolithic, no state, early state formation. Now I'm going to only write the top main points. No tax. Hunting and gathering plus domestication of animals, microliths, fire, agriculture, surplus, rituals, complex society, simple society. Thereafter, copper emerges. Hunting plus agriculture plus gathering plus animal husbandry. husbandry. Thereafter, anything else which we can add? Fire is there, no state. Domestication of animals, agriculture, complex society, microliths, rituals. Yes, this is more legend. Anybody have any issue here? Come on. Come on. Okay. Now comes the more interesting. Mature state, internal and external trade, complex society, naturalistic religion, writing, and first urbanization, town planning, no taxation. Now early Vedic, pastoralist, tribal polity, egalitarian, no taxation, women more or less equal to men. Then you have cattle as wealth, Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata, no trade, no currency, no currency. Now later Vedic, agriculture, hereditary, territorial kingship, taxation. Thereafter, iron use, women subordinated to men, land as wealth, only Sabha, no trade, Vedic Brahmanism, fourfold Varna. Okay, now does the whole story of today make sense? And if you realize, we started at 2 million BCE, I brought you to 2600 BCE, then I brought you to 1500 BCE, and now we're standing at 600 to 500 BCE. So we have traversed close to 20 lakh years today. So I hope that by next week, Saturday, you will be in a position to make this yourself. I will start the class with this. We will be doing on Saturday and Sunday, we will do Mahajanpadas. Then a very favorite topic, Buddhism and Jainism, along with Ajivikas. Then Mauryas. This will be for Saturday. Sunday, we will be discussing Maurya, Gupta, post-Gupta, and by next Sunday, we will finish ancient. Right? So your homework is going to be that between today and next Saturday, you will keep on revising. Revise, and I just want you to look at these slides. That's it. Can you do this much? Right? If I'm asking anything extraordinary, I'm asking anything which is unreasonable? No. If you even revise on Friday, sit for 1 hour and go through the slides, it will make sense to you. So if you don't have a question, thank you so much for being here. It's been a long day. Thank you for your patience. I hope everything is making sense. I hope you are finding this fruitful. And very simply, this is the way we're going to cover ancient medieval art and culture. In art and culture, we make it more visual. I will make you listen to music. We will be looking at pictures. We'll be doing other things there. Here it's more factual. So we're trying to do it in a conceptual manner. So thank you. Take care. If you don't have a question, see you next Saturday. Have a very productive weekday. And please do revise. And I hope that by Wednesday and by the next Saturday, I will be congratulating all of us for ISRO for landing the Chandrayaan-3 rover and making history for reaching the south pole of the moon. Luna 25 is destroyed, and we are now on the verge of making history. So much bigger than World Cups, much more important for you and me. So let's hope that I give you good news or you share good news with me. So thank you. Take care. Do watch on Wednesday as a UPSC aspirant. You should closely follow what happens to Chandrayaan-3. Very important generally. Yes. Okay. So I will see you on next Saturday. Thank you. If you don't have a question, you can leave the session. No issues at all. Do the PPTs, then the NCRTs. Consolidate in that manner. Great. Okay. Bye bye. See you. Rafia, you wanted to call. I'm taking your call if you want to try. Still, I think it's not working for you. Okay, see you.